so many advertisements these days explaining to the general public about pharmaceuticals and even drugs for their dogs. You know, makes it really hard for people, and makes it hard for veterinarians to manage their practices because they've got so many. I know my head's tilted because my hair's over there. Makes it so hard for so many veterinarians to, manage in their practice because people come in saying, I want this. And I mean, years ago, I used to have similar issues, even with my horse clients who would come and say, I want this. I want this. This is what I want. I know this is what I want. And you would try to explain to them why it was not the right choice for their animal based on the problems they were having, based on the symptoms they were showing, based on my expert exam. And that, I had this one, I'm going to tell you this story because, I'm not going to include any names. But I had this one client who happened to be a farrier, actually, and his wife. And their granddaughter was riding one of their horses, and the horse would get anxious in the show ring. And they wanted a certain medication in the horse to keep it quiet. And even though they tried that medication, they wanted more of it because they were just sure it was the horse. Guys, it's the environment, and the animal is just responding to its environment. And what does that mean? That means that horse was in a show ring with, what do we know about nerves? We know that what wires together fires together, just like electricity. If you've got a spark going off in one wire next to another open live wire, guess what? You're going to have two live wires. Somebody met their demise last night on the driveway. Probably got dropped by an owl or a hawk or something. So the answer there is that if your granddaughter's nervous in the ring, don't go medicate your horse trying to change the granddaughter. You got to change the granddaughter. And anyway, so they never did resolve that problem. It'd be interesting if that story circled back around to them. But yeah, we had that conversation too. So I'm not telling you guys anything I hadn't told them. That said, remember that your nervous system responds to the environment in which you live. The nervous system responds to the environment where you work. If you are anxious about your job, if you're upset about your environment, just because you get an ad on some social media that says, hey, are you having these symptoms? You know what? That ad is trying to reach as many people with these symptoms as possible. And those symptoms, one of the things I learned, and now I'm changing subjects again on you. One of the things I learned way back when I took an acupuncture course was that things that we treat in Western medicine are not the same as the way we treat them with Chinese medicine. Why is that? In part because Chinese medicine looks at that picture a little bit differently. It looks at the environment. It looks at the body and what caused what a little bit differently. And even if we look at it from a chiropractic standpoint, we're going to see a different cause. We're going to see a different solution for that problem, in part because we're coming at it from a different perspective. We're going to look at the bigger, broader environment around that animal. We're not just going to look at, oh, my horse switches his tail, and if I want his tail to stop swishing, I have to medicate him. Instead of that, we're going to look at why is he swishing his tail, and what situations is that horse swishing his tail. So I'm going to throw some credit where credit is due. I've been doing a little bit of studying of some of the work of A.C.E.S, and he is an expert at behavior in humans. And he looks at all kinds of things like facial expressions and how people behave, and when you say something, what does their face do? All of those kinds of things that help people like therapists and crime solvers and all those guys do some pretty amazing work. So that's what he does. And you can find his information, so chasehughes.com. The 6-Minute X-Ray is his latest book. And in his work, he looks at, what caused that facial expression. Because many of these things that he's looking at are reactions that we developed over time. Our nervous system just does them. So, the guy's right up my alley because he recognizes that it's the environment that changes the person. And we look at that in our animals as well. So back to our horse. So what situation did that horse switch its tail when it was in the show ring? What was it near? What was it smelling? What were you asking it to do? Was it unbalanced? How was it moving? That tail swish. So many of you may not recognize this, but tails on animals are there for a lot of reasons, not just to show us that they like us. We wrote a whole paper on that, I don't know, a number of years ago. I'll try to dig it up and throw it in our blog. But that tail is an essential part of the nervous system. It's an essential portion of the balance. It's especially important for managing, proprioception in the body, forward motion in some animals. I'm watching the poodle. So these are the things. There's so much to learn. And I would encourage you all to learn as much of it as you possibly can, because it'll help to empower you to make better decisions about your animals so that you're not, just listening to the advertisements that say, if your dog does this, he might have XYZ. And you'll notice that that's the terminology they use. He might have, and he might not. So thanks for joining me today. If you're a veterinarian or a chiropractor and you would like to be able to see those animals from that perspective, find us today at animalchiropracticeducation.com. Join us for Intro to Animal Chiropractic, coming up again in October. I think it's October 18th. And we'll spend a little bit of time talking about how you can build a profitable animal chiropractic practice. Pink, you want to go with me? Come here.